Hey YouTube, this is Brendan with Cusack Prep, and in this video we're going to be discussing how to convert between radicals and exponents. So a radical is kind of that little weird shape that looks something like this. And if inside of that radical we have some variable x, and that variable is raised to some power b, and we have some other number a out here, well, what that becomes as an exponent is x raised to the b over a. An easy way to remember that is power over root. Root spelled with two O's. So let's maybe take a look at an example problem. So let's say I provided you with something like, I don't know, let's say we had 8 raised to the 2/3 power. Well, if I'm going to go ahead and convert from the exponent to the radical, now I'm going the other way, this would become the cubic root of 8 squared. Now, we can choose to evaluate this in either order. We can either square 8 first, which I'll do going this way, and then take the cubic root of that. So 8 squared is 64, and the cubic root of 64 is 4. Or we can also take the cubic root first. So I can take the cubic root of 8, which is 2, and then I have to then square that, which is once again going to give me 4. So we can see that either way we do it, doesn't really matter. It works out. So let's maybe look at some slightly more complicated problems. Let's say we had something like the square root of 9 times x, 9 times x minus, I don't know, maybe 81 divided by the fifth root of x minus 9. So let's say we had something like this. Well, this is going to be a little bit more difficult to solve. So what we first have to do is kind of see that we can factor out a 9 out of both of these terms. So I could turn this into the square root of 9 times x minus 9. And in the denominator, I could turn this into x minus 9 to the 1/5. So if I think about the top, the square root of 9, we can basically break this down into two different parts, where it's the square root of 9 times the square root of x minus 9. For multiplication, you're allowed to split radicals that way. However, you cannot do it on the basis of addition or subtraction. And in the denominator, I'm going to keep this as x minus 9 raised to the 1/5. Now, the square root of 9, that's just 3. And x minus 9, the square root of that, well, just imagine there's a little 2 here because it's the square root. And we can think of this as being raised to the first because it's nothing's written. So using that power over root rule, this would be x minus 9 to the 1/2 divided by x minus 9 to the 1/5. Now, the rules with subtracting exponents is that you would subtract the top minus the bottom. So we would leave a 3 out front, and 1/2 minus 1/5, well, we have to find the least common denominator, which is going to be 10. So 1/2 is the same as 5/10. 1/5 is the same as 2/10. So when we subtract those, we get 3 over 10. So this is going to be 3 times x minus 9 to the 3 divided by 10. And you can see that that's how you would solve a problem that looks something like that. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. We've covered the basics of converting between radicals and exponents, as well as providing an example. And I've also showed you a pretty complicated problem that involves a lot of different rules. Thank you for watching.